Hello. Hello. Just checking in, seeing some people starting to join in. Hello. Please just let me know that you can hear me and see me all okay. Would be great. Thank you for joining me on this beautiful sunny afternoon. If you can just let me know that you can hear me and see me all okay. Thank you. Cool. Great. Welcome. Thank you, lovely. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing in and joining. I'm in Victoria, so I'm based in South Gippsland, but I'm in the state of Victoria. So a lot of the information I'll be sharing is going to be a bit more sort of macro, and I can let you know where things will be referred out through to. But it will specifically be about how to do things, for instance, in Victoria, but then let you know how you can do that in other states as well. Lovely. Okay, cool. We've got a few people joining in. Thank you all so much. Let me know where you're coming in from. Say hello and whereabouts you are. It'd be great. So I know there are quite a few people, a few parents probably feeling a little bit panicked at the moment. It's been a pretty interesting and intense ride this last, 18 months pretty much, hey? Lovely. Quite a few regional people here. Yes, I do plan on saving the live, the Instagram guides all get sorted would be great. That it definitely will be saved live and posted up so you can watch at another time. Hello. Yeah. So I really felt called to just jump on and just share more about home education, our experience, and answer as many questions as we can, because I know it's a topic that is becoming a lot more popular of late, and thought it would be great just to help provide some guidance, because I know when I first started looking into home education many years ago, there wasn't really a lot of stuff around there for me to try and find. So I hope this just provides some information just to help you be a bit more grounded in decisions and knowledge and what's going to be best for yourselves and for your family as well. So what I'm going to do is just share a little bit about who I am, go a little bit about home education, bit into our journey, and then start talking, answering a bit more of the who, what, how, why, how to do that, answer any questions that you have. I've also been sharing in stories, been answering them already. Things will be saved in a highlight on my Instagram profile, which is annagrillo.trueself if you're watching this on another platform. I will be saving this as well, so you can just go back and refer to it, and just feel free to reach out if you've got any questions at any time as well. So a little bit just about me is, for me, I do many things at times, but I suppose I really delve into the concept of mindset mastery. And the reason why I'm starting with that is because this is a game of mindset, helping people to realize their fears, their doubts, to be able to overcome that and take intentional and aligned action to really deepen in with their intuition and trust and carry that forward. Helps give you that confidence in making decisions without worrying about what other people are thinking, and just helps you to just feel more confident in taking those steps moving forward. And so I know right now people are feeling called into the home education movement because of what's happening whilst we're living in Victoria. For those who don't know, we're the most locked down city, Melbourne is the most locked down city in the world. And there's been so much pressure going on, and we've now got mask mandates in the school, they literally just released that, from grades 3 and older, masks are mandatory for children and strongly recommended from those prep to grade 2. Please note some of that wording. The public health directives for mask wearing, there are lawful exemptions sitting within that. So I'm just going to invite you just to take a look, go to the Department of Health, read what those actual directives are, so you can actually see what those lawful exemptions are, and you'll note that even within that, the exemptions, you don't need a certificate to support those. So having those conversations may be required for you with your school right now, but that's pretty much where we're at. We also know in Victoria that we have the concept of mature minors. So if you have a child that is age 12 or older, they can have discussions with medical professionals, and if they are deemed to be a mature minor, they can make decisions and consent to medical procedures or medications and so forth without parental consent. And I know that is quite a bit of an issue for people, for parents who may be quite happy to have accepted the vaccine for themselves, but for it to be pushed out onto children, that's already been approved, I think some of them for 16 years and older. There's provisional approvals going through once the TGA signs up for 12 and older, and also to have this procedure given to children from age 5 and older. So I can see how the angst and the worry that's happening for a lot of people right now, and want to be able to be on the front foot and what can we actually do. And home education is a really beautiful option for you to, bring your kids back and take over the education, take it back from the state, and you taking responsibility for that. So what I'm just going to anchor in is for you to really come into your why, because some of you that we're coming into this from a state of fear. There's a lot of fear coming into this, because we don't want all those things. We want to, protect the kids. Absolutely, 100%. That is so needed and is a very valid reason to be doing this. But what we really want to do now is I'd like you to start shifting that from a space of fear to a space of love. So, because the fear isn't going to get you in the middle of the night when you start coming up against, oh my gosh, why is my child not doing this? And all the things that come along with it. We want to anchor in to our why, because we want our children, for instance, to be healthy, happy, successful, and confident in life. Do you see how there's a bit of a difference when we're thinking, how am I going to be doing this from that lens? They're the questions that'll be your guiding post moving forward. What do I want from my children? What's going to be the best thing for them? Well, is this going to lead me for them to be healthy, happy, successful, confident? Whatever those anchor points are going to be for yourself. So I would like you just to have a think about that, reflect upon that, and just see what is it that you want for your children in life. Because a lot of this is also going to require you to deprogram or de-school. That's often what we tend to call it in the home education realms. For every year you have been in a school institution, or format, a setting, I should say, a school setting, that's 1 month needed of no formal type education happening at all. Just really allow them to relax and just start learning and discovering that sense of learning for themselves. But that's also equally just as important for yourself as the parent. Because for me, I know me coming into home education, my kids are now 11 and 8. My kids have never been to school, a formal school setting, because for me, when I sort of went down that path, when my daughter, she was due to go to kinder, I was just like, I don't know if this is the best thing for her. There was nothing wrong, so to speak, but I just thought, is this a setting that's going to help make her thrive in life? And, was it just, was I looking for a different philosophy, such as Steiner or Montessori or something like that? It still wasn't the thing. The thought of taking my daughter, dropping her off and being separated, coming back, and I just thought, something was missing there. And so that's what led me on a path of home education, because I thought, I need to find something, and it's where the good old Facebook comes into play. I found a local few local homeschooling groups and went along to a couple, and that's going to be part of the journey as well. Who do you meet with? Who do you vibe with? Where do the kids get along with? Yourself as parents. And then eventually came across a group that was local to me, similar age kids, similar interests, and made some really beautiful friendships who are, still our dearest friends to this day. And they just clicked and it just worked. And the activities that they sort of did and got along to go to was just like, yeah, awesome, this is working for us. And we just never looked back. So really, that was leading to my path of ensuring my kids were healthy, happy, successful, and confident in some of those pathways. And that's really, as a parent, that's really what we want. And so have a think about what that means for you and what you'd love for your kids. But that pathway, we're conditioned to think that that pathway is done by going to school, and in fact going to the right school, going to university, getting the job, climbing the corporate ladder, getting married, buying a house in the right suburb, to rinse, repeat, and repeat the cycle from there. And so we almost need to mourn or grieve the loss of what we thought that pathway may look like for our kids. It's going to look different. Absolutely. It's going to look, this is something that is built on relationships. There are some conversations that may need to happen. There are, children are our biggest teachers. There is mindset barriers that us ourselves need to go through and break down in order to step up into this space. So that's one of the biggest things. It's a mindset game that I really feel that people need to get their head around this, because your children can still be successful and confident and happy in anything they do. It just might look different, and that's okay. So there are just some starts that I really just wanted to get started with to impart that to you all. So let me know what you think, and I'll answer questions as well as I go through that. But there are two other aspects I did just want to touch on, and that is the concept that society is changing. And in and of itself, I remember when 2020 first kicked off and people were asked to work from home if you can and so forth. Now my background's in HR, and that was one of the first things I was like, wow. I remember what it was like. You could have work from home policies, but the reality of them getting implemented and people having to apply, it wasn't, it was a nice to have, but they didn't really sort of like having to do that. But now it's just a given. So we've sort of grown up or are used to this whole thing as a family, that we get up, separate for the majority of the day, parents go off to work, have their colleagues, and kids go off to school and with their friends and so forth, and then they come back at the end of the day, and then the same thing the next day happens. So what we're noticing is that that community was very external and individual type thing, that this, I'm going to work, this is my friend, and because we spent most of our time at work or so forth, that's where, things, your identity and your peers are sort of formed, same with the kids at school, and then sort of coming back in and you just sort of having to be together to eat and so forth. Obviously I'm being very generic, so I know it's not the same for all families. But now that we've been forced, literally forced to be stay at home for this whole, past 18 months, I'm sure a lot of you would have noticed the difference in family dynamics happening right now. And this is the change that's being moved forward, because local community is going to be one of the biggest things happening right now. Not just, the work, the separation, we're coming back in together. And if you can work from home right now, do you really need to be living where you are? You might be, a close commute to work. If you're considering home education, homeschooling, well, do you really need to be living there because it was the great catchment for the great school that was in the area? So suddenly, like, these discussions or what the future could look like could be very different, because if you're no longer having to live in that area for convenience, suddenly things are a bit more different. Life could look very different for you. So I'm just want to plant some seeds for you right now, because for some people it might just be, oh wow, giving yourself permission to go, you know what, and this is often something that I'll I'll work through with clients is if you didn't have to worry about time, money, or other people's expectations, what would you be doing in life? And really think what that would look like. Because for some of you it might be, well, let's just get up and go somewhere else. Do we really need to be sitting in the city? And, maybe we can save money on rent or your mortgage if you sell up and go to somewhere regional where it's a bit smaller, less cost of living, because you don't have to worry about those other things because you can, home educate, that's sort of all covered there. Perhaps, we can work part-time instead. So there are very many different options that are going to come into this. So, and everyone's going to be really different. So I'm just inviting you to have a think about what those things could look like. The other thing is what really led me and gets me excited about home education is we've been told for years that the robots are coming, yeah? Automation is already happening. The transfer of information is automated now. So a lot of things are already, outdated already. They were already saying that, we don't even know what jobs are going to be in the future. Half the jobs that we know right now are going to be gone because they're going to be automated. And we don't even know what new skills are going to be, what new jobs are going to be created. So we're in this really prime opportunity because for me, I feel that the education system as it is quite outdated. I remember reading an article saying, the future of education, it was a couple of years ago, in 20 years, there'd be, hybrid learning, part-time learning, do some online learning from home. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? That should be happening right here, right now. We're all set up and ready to go. So and I'm sure people who've been doing remote learning, please note, I'm referring to as home education because it's not schooling. We're not trying to replicate the school system at home at all. So if, and all schools seem to have a really different experience as to, how things were done as well. But it's not school at home. So you can learn anytime, anywhere, and depending what, you can watch something or read something and, the transfer of knowledge happens that way. So it's a really exciting time for me. I'm really excited about the possibilities of what could be because, they can learn things from a curriculum or self-study or whatever it is that you want to do, but it suddenly gives you such ample time to really anchor into your own or your child's own passions and strengths and, following those curious paths and really come into their own. And that's what helps, that whole individualized lessons because they're really confident in who they are and they get to do the fun things that light them up. It's not always this whole thing of chasing, well, you're not good at this, so we just need to focus in this area to try and lift you up. We can actually now focus on their strengths and their skills and build up towards that moving forward. And, in and of itself, again, I mentioned working back in HR, it didn't, when we were doing, recruiting people, they'd have similar skills or a qualification, but that's not what you're looking for. You want to know, what's their interpersonal skills like? Have they worked before? Do they know, personal type interrelationship skills? Can they go in and do the job and all those types of things? They're the things that really come from life experience, not just the information because anyone here, I'm sure you learn on the job. If you need to know how to do something, you just jump online and you learn how to do it. Or, someone will show you and you go from there. So I just really want you to open your awareness a little bit more if you haven't thought about these things before, and get excited and get curious about what the possibilities could be, because I just think it's like, oh my gosh, amazing throughout all of this. And yes, I've had down days and oh my gosh, the reality is we're not going back to normal, and there never was a normal, to be honest. We're here in a time where the old system, structures, institutions no longer serving us. They weren't serving us beforehand. They were common, we were used to it. But, I dare say, I don't know how many people were 100%, thrilled with how everything was going anyway, because we know it just didn't serve us. So let's, instead of the fear and uncertainty, that's the scary bit. Well, if it's not that, that's all I know. And sometimes it's easier to go back into all that we know. We're being called to look into a new way, and not only look, but actually create it. We're co-creating this. So this is my thought process. I've always felt very positive about all of this. So so I hope that provides some comfort and just some guides to help shift your mindset if that's not where you sort of are as yet, and to look to the possibilities. Okay, so I'll jump on and sort of answer some questions soon. So just tap them in, get going. That would be great. But I guess we'll get into now, I suppose, the how-to. Now, basically, I'm in Victoria, so I'll sort of speak to that. But what we do is you need to register with the Department of Education your intent to homeschool your child. Now, if you're already in the school setting, they will need to see that they're being transferred somewhere. And so the form is actually pretty simple. Now, we have the Home Education Network, also known as HEN, in Victoria. It's a non-for-profit group run full of volunteers. They're a great, amazing advocacy group and a great, amazing resource. So their website is allthews.home-ed.vic.edu.au. Now, on there, that gives you every little thing that you need to know, how to do it, what to do, and so forth. But basically, you've got an intent to register, and you also need to submit a learning plan. Now, home education is legal in Australia. Each state and territory are going to have different requirements. So please, if you're in a different state from Victoria, please take a look and see what it is that you need to do. Surprisingly, it's quite simple in Victoria, the least onerous from what I can see. So when you register your form, you just need to supply a learning plan. And that's to show that you are covering the 8 key learning areas. And so that's your, maths, English, science, humanities, IT, stuff like that. And again, this is a plan, and it's just a one-off plan, and you only do it when you register it, and that is it. You don't have to do it in Victoria each year. I know that there are other states that they do. You need to do one for each year. So again, please take a look at your specific state and territory to understand what it is that you need to do. So that's pretty simple. Jump onto Home Education Network. Their website has a list of all different learning plans that you can provide, and there's a different way that you can do it. So you can either show how you're going to meet the 8 key learning areas, and that's what I used. I only had to do it for my son because it only started a few years ago. And I think you can also do it by project or focus, and then just sort of show underneath how you're going to meet those key learning areas. So it's all there. There's samples for each age and year level as well, so you can go there and just get familiar with what it is that is required for you. So it's quite simple. The learning plan, it scares me. Don't be scared. It's just, what are you planning on doing? There's people in the home education community will be happy to review and help you out as well. So just ask questions. Again, take a look at those sample plans. They will have that there all listed out, ready for you to go. And once you've submitted that off, it will take up to 28 days for you to get approved. And from my understanding, I think if they needed more information, they probably would come back and ask that from you. So, you can, if you need to provide something else, you can. But it's pretty simple. And then once you're done, that is it. You get a little letter to say you've been approved and done. And basically once a year, usually around November, you get an email saying, are you still home educating? Yes or no? And you click yes or no, and it just rolls on over from there. So what they have done is that each year, 10% of home educators will be reviewed. And it's been, 5 years or so, I'm yet to be reviewed. Thankfully, I suppose, but not really. I'd love for them to, so it's done and dusted. And as from all the feedback that I've gotten, no one has failed a review. It pretty much is just a check to go, show us, what have they been learning over the 8 key learning areas, so they can show that those have been covered in there. So, it's something for you perhaps to think about, record keeping or, taking photos, taking notes, and see how that goes. or however that works for you. So it's once you're up and running, it's pretty simple and pretty basic. You just keep copies of things that are going on, and then you'll be fine. So that is that. Now, the how-to. So one of the things, if I outsource to a teacher, so you are responsible for their education. Now, that doesn't mean that you just handball it off to a teacher and that is it. Yes, you can engage a teacher to come in because you're asking them to specifically teach on English, math, science, whatever it is that you want to do, but it's not necessarily, I just gave it to them and that is it. Does that make sense? There's a slight, you can engage teachers and educators and experts to come in to assist with the transfer of knowledge, but you're responsible. So I always call myself, I'm not the educator, I'm the facilitator. I'm the one to go, right, what is it that my child needs? And I will also, for that, I need to know what my skills are. What am I really great at? And, maths and, science, not really my forte. Okay, I'm going to, look for activities that someone else can come in and do to help teach my child, and I can guide them with that. But reading, I can read to my kids and help with, writing and stuff like that, not a worry. So understand your own skill strengths as well. And one thing that I should have touched on back then as our, our overarching focus onto home education is that for me, this isn't even necessarily about education. First and foremost, it's based on relationships. Getting to know yourself, first and foremost, but your relationship with each child, and that each child is a beautiful, unique individual with skills and strengths and opportunities to learn and all those types of things. So it's not just, we're so used to handing them over and someone else is going to be dealing with that, and you can still be there involved and guide them along, but at the end of the day it's like, oh, they just follow through along with whatever's there's being set out there. This is an opportunity for you to work really closely with your child and go, wow, and everyone is different, which is the fun thing, with two children. It is going to be, we need to be adaptable. I'll be honest with you, you need to be adaptable and get curious and go, wow, okay, one child likes this, but one child's the complete opposite, and that's okay. Things are going to look different. It's not just learning occurs between the hours of 9 and 3 and that is it. It's going to start looking a little bit different for different families. So getting curious with different styles, I think is really important. But for me, if I was in the school system and I was pulling my child out, for me, I need something I can just set and forget. Like there's so much going on that I need to sort of de-school and de-learn about, unlearn about myself and how things could be. I would probably just go, what's some type of a curriculum that I could use? Now, the one that I'm aware of is UCA, that's EUKA. They used to be the Complete Home Education Australia. They rebranded last year. And they've just got something online that you can go in, you pay for the term as well. I think it's $150. You pay for the term. You can see a free sample as well. Excuse me. But they will teach, you've got English to hear the lessons for I think English and maths is probably, 5 lessons for the week. And then each other subject has 1 lesson. Set and forget. Just transition, start with this, and at least you have a peace of mind for yourself. And they've got some form of learning, and they're probably maybe used to something like that as well. But at least you feel, okay, that you're doing something, and you can just focus on the relationship and getting to know your kid. How is this going to work? What do we need? And we're going from there. We're using UCAN, it's very easy to use. It's super easy to use. So that may be a really just great transition piece. And often knowing that there are things that work, and also the ages and stages of life, because there might be things that worked really well for a year or 2 even, and it's suddenly as they grow, it's like, oh, we need to focus on something a bit different. And that's okay. It's just constantly, checking in and reviewing and seeing how you are. Now with us, when it's October, we're moving into summer down here in Australia. So for me, it's almost like, summer's been great because, all the kids will go back to school in February and you've still got beautiful hot weather. So it's is very relaxed, and you get to go to the beach during the week when there's no one else there, and enjoy all the different type of facilities without everyone crowding in. So summer can be a really extended, relaxed, longer summer, and as long as we're doing a little bit of reading, a little bit of writing, whatever that is for your family, for your values, for what it is that you want to instill and your focus, you can take a bit of a break. It doesn't have to be we only learn between these are the terms, so it has to, the term dates and school holidays happen here. It can really flow. You can, be quite relaxed. I know someone I really enjoy following is Julie Bogart from The Brave Writer, and she's got her profile, I think, is Julie Brave Writer, but she's got a book called The Brave Learner, and often she'll sort of talk about even through the seasons, like you unschool through summer, maybe a bit of project learning sort of through autumn, a bit more of structured writing through winter, and just seeing how things flow. Now, with home education, it's not like with those 8 key learning areas that you have to do a little bit of that every single day or over the course of a week either. You might just focus on, I don't know, your basics, and then, one day you happen to watch a movie and it sparks some, or get some science experiments coming in, and that can almost be enough to tick off that you've sort of covered that. It depends on your children and what their interests are. Some have a really strong focus in a particular area, so it's easy to incorporate all the different aspects to it, to cover them off in there. Others you may just need to, how can I engage them, and really trying to get their curiosity going and just seeing how that goes as well. Okay, so that sort of covers that. So there's all different philosophies as well. And I know, some of the popular ones people are talking about is something like unschooling, which is like I'm not going to say no curriculum. It's because unschooling, people sort of think it's anything goes in a way, but that's very much about following your child's interests, because it's not like they only know what they know. They may have a really strong, passion for animals. So that's your responsibility as the adult to help go, great, well, we're going to go to the zoo. Okay, oh, look at this really cool documentary. Wow, let's read these books. And strewing and really help delving and supporting that curiosity. Not just they like animal, or they'll just sort and figure that out themselves. So, have a think about how that looks. Read a few, maybe, jump on and look at people's different philosophies, see what different people do. It's interesting, like, a lot of people, like, I'm an eclectic home educator, I dare say. I'm probably draw from the unschooling philosophy, but I also love Charlotte Mason, who was an educator back in the early 1900s, and so she has a really beautiful way of how I feel that if there was ever going to be a school system, something like that would be set up, with short, sharp lessons, keeping kids engaged, giving them the feast, spreading the feast, like not giving them baby or abridged versions of things, letting them read the classics and from the books and from the people who are the experts in subject matters, so they really get a deep understanding, not just these little tidbits here and there without really surface level stuff. So so I'm a bit of a mix here and there, and depending on what we are doing, what weeks we're in, we were a bit all over the place. But now as my kids are getting older, it's looking at, oh wow, I feel like they're shifting now in their next level as well. And it's been difficult for home educators through these last couple of years, because community and gatherings and park plays has always been a very big focus for us, and extracurricular activities as well. And with them all gone, and we just moved from Melbourne a couple of years ago before all of this started as well, thankfully. But and thankfully we've been able to meet some really beautiful, amazing friends in our community, so we're super grateful for that. But in my mind, I'm really looking forward to curating a couple, having an educator come in on topics that, like I said, perhaps some science or some drama, some arts or something, to come in with a small group of kids, for them to come together, and that's a couple of hours away from me, drop off, a couple of times a week, and they get, that beautiful time to learn something new from someone else, be with their peers as well, and come back in. So, and we still do, bits and pieces at home as well. So there are really many different ways that you can go about home educating. And again, it's really going to be driven on what your needs are and what your families are. There are some kids who are a lot more extroverted and really enjoy, being out and about. Some who aren't and, enjoy being at home. And I dare say, suddenly it's not like where you go to school and, they've got a 15-minute recess and, 45 minutes an hour for lunch. They barely get a chance to sort of come together and play. Yeah, they're with other kids, but the playing together doesn't really happen as much as compared to what my experience in in the community is, that we would go to a park play and there'd be, 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours of just unstructured free play. And the kids, they get together, they all come together, and there may be a group of 10, 15, 20. I still found that they would come off into little groups of 2 here, 3 there, do their own thing. They may come in and say, oh, wow, cool, look at this cool bird, or we're making a fort or something. But they still, it was very interesting to see kids' behaviour, and how friendships form and so forth. So, yeah, it's different, and yes, there's conflict and and so forth, but I find that they tend to get resolved and relationships probably go a little bit deeper. That's not to say that doesn't happen in school settings. Of course they do. I can see many different great friendships, but I also know some of the things that they're just in the middle of playing something at recess, and then a conflict might happen, and then bell rings and they're back into the school setting, and they've got this anxiety going on, and all that type of stuff. I find that opportunity for just unstructured free play is a lot more. It seems a bit more natural, and you don't have to be doing that every day of the week. Just sometimes just a couple of outings like we do. I find what's a really great equalizer is starting an activity such as gymnastics, or do something that your child is really interested in to get other like-minded kids in as well. Because they'll do the class together, and then usually you go afterwards and go for a park play, and so they get to develop friendships and meet new people, and you see people who are local to the area as well, and then from there you sort of parents, okay, you have a chat, and the kids one-on-one a little bit more. It's a bit easier for them to come together and develop those friendships. And also knowing that the home education community isn't the only space to be learning and having friends. You could be having what's your family like? Friends outside of that as well. So knowing that there's many different ways to develop their skills, and are they happy and confident? What is it they need? And sort of moving from there. Again, follow the child, what do they need, and how we can best meet that. Okay, so if you've got any questions, I'll jump back up. But from what I've been seeing, so I hope I've answered about how to go about doing it and what you would sort of do. But the other one, there's two other ones I think are coming up, and that was around work and home education. What do I do? How do you manage that? So it's all going to depend, because your options are, well, first off is childcare. Who's going to look after the kids while I'm working? There's that. And also knowing that home learning happens anytime, anywhere. So, I'm self-employed, so the way I manage my week is on a Mondays when I see my clients. My husband's also self-employed, so that's how we work together. I'll see the clients on a Monday and on a Saturday as well, my work days. And then so the rest of the week the kids have got activities. We sort of alternate between who goes there. Normally the Friday is the full park day play. They do gymnastics in the morning, and then the parents go out, the mums usually does our shopping, and then we all meet back and pick them up at the park. We have lunch together, and it's a really beautiful free flow day. And then usually another activity, another gathering. Hopefully we're able to go out to other things and see and experience some new interesting things around the area. That's sort of how it flows. The weeks are really different. In my mind, in my ideal scenario, I'm I'd love to, we get up, we do, have our breakfast, we do a bit of learning, and it depends on what it is, because there are some weeks when we'll get together and do stuff. So I would use things such as reading eggs for reading. When I noticed with one of my children that, how interesting, they didn't seem to be picking up phonics as, sounding things out. That's when I engaged a tutor to come in, a specialist who was also a kinesiologist as well, and was able to identify, is there an issue here, and help support us through that. So that's how I go about things. We use Prodigy, which is one of the maths online gaming things. It's like a gaming type learning activity, which the kids really enjoy. Another thing we've been using, you can even get those Excel workbooks from the news agencies as well. I've picked in, as I mentioned before, I enjoy Charlotte Mason, so sometimes just having painters and, famous artists and printing those off and just having them up. Sometimes a bit of a drawing, just getting into their interest. I also enjoy lately The Good and the Beautiful, which is, you can actually get a free curriculum levels 1 to 5 for language arts and maths. And that's not necessarily grades 1 to 5. You can have a placement assessment to see where they are. It's probably a bit more advanced and maybe up to maybe like level 6 or 7, depending on your child. And so I'll print some of that off and we'll go through that. And then my aim is to do that in the morning, and then the rest of the day is a bit of whatever. And there are some weeks we don't touch it at all. We don't touch it at all. I do utilize screen time with my kids. I try not to, it's the intent, what are they actually doing with it? If it's getting to a stage where they're just sitting there mindlessly watching YouTube, then it's like, okay, I think we need something a little bit, transition through. And that's also my opportunity to go through, that's been a bit of a babysitter for me. Do I need to recheck and where I am and what I'm doing, and how do I clear my schedule a bit more? But they run Minecraft and they're connecting in with friends and they're doing all these cool, fun things as well. And then, they happen to go out and, meet some people out and about as well. So it's a bit of a free-for-all. There's a loose structure for us. And we just sort of go from there. Again, it's going to be different once we can actually start doing things. We've all been in a bit of a holding pattern. So there's a lot of opportunities. Before, 2020, it's a very thriving community. There's lots of things that you can be doing out there. There were times where I was just like, oh my gosh, another thing. I just want to stay at home and chill out and relax. So please don't worry about like socialization and is there enough opportunity? There definitely is. One thing I'd probably say, this really does take you as the parent to take ownership and leadership in this. What does my child need? How can I meet that? And maybe I'm the one that has to organize an outing or put my hand up. Who's interested in skateboarding? Who wants to join a Minecraft server and learn? They really want to do a volunteering at the zoo. There's a program, who's interested in joining in? I don't know, but we're being called to step up and help guide them. So as I mentioned before, it's the mindset and what needs do we need to be met for ourselves in order to be present for our children as well. So yeah, a bit more to think about on a macro level, but yeah, let me know what you're thinking with that. And questions. Did I answer that work and home ed? So it's going to be different to what you need. And as I sort of mentioned at the beginning of the live, you might decide now, if we're not anchored into a spot because of work, because I can work from home, for instance, or, because of that catchment area for a certain school, and we're going to home educate, maybe we move. And so I won't have to work, rely on that income. We just go very lean for the next few years and just, explore and learn and do other things. But definitely figure out what your childcare options will be. Some people have family to help, those 2 days or 3 days, my parent, that could sort of happen there. Someone can come in and look after them, and I'll just have, here's the book, or here's something that they can just help do those type of activities. So I'm comfortable there getting everything learned off. And then there's other, the rest of the week, Saturday and Sunday, they're still valid days. Learning happens anytime, anywhere. We'll focus in and do other stuff there as well. And on that, teachers who are also in this predicament, that are no longer having a job, well, this is the opportunity for them sort of to go, what skills do you have? Because I know, you could start looking at, if you've got what are the activities that you would do in your own class? Can you package them together? This is what you need to do. This is the step-by-step how-to. This is what the learning comes, how come, and what what we're trying to elicit here. Package them up. There's, teachers pay teachers. So, homeschoolers can access that as well. Teachers just sharing all their resources that they do on certain topics and subjects. Go up there and, put it up on there. And for an upsell, I'll do a one-on-one consult with you as well. So, this is what we're learning. You can ask any questions. But again, I'm like, there's so much opportunity when we decentralize education and how they can look like specialized learning. Start, what does the community need? What do you need? Reach out, asking the people. And for the kids who are really they have certain passions, reaching out to the experts, which I guess moves us into VCE, the whole thing. Will my kid go to university? There's many pathways to university than just VCE. You've got something like Open University, which they often start from even age 13. That may have changed if it's a little bit older. You can do your first 4 subjects on there, and that's your prerequisite into the course. Mature age students as well. Not everyone knows what they want to do and go into university straight away. TAFE pathways, there's a heap of TAFE programs that you go in, you sort of do 1 year, and that's a guaranteed entry into second year university as well. And I almost feel as a teenager, you don't have to worry about going through all the other subjects. If you want to specialize and be an engineer or an accountant, you can, really focus in and hone in your skills on that. You can get some work experience. You can start working when you're 14, is it 15 now? You can start getting a job. Imagine being able to work. Imagine, I don't know, you want to be a lawyer or an accountant or something, and going, can I do some work experience or work 1 day a week doing filing? You're in there, you're in the environment, you're with the experts. And if you know that they're really interested in someone, actually calling a local business and going, look, my child is really interested. Could they spend a couple of hours with you, or can you share, what you do in a day and all those types of things? Because, that's where we learn. You got to think, years ago, your apprenticeship started much younger. I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So by the time you were 18, 20, that's you were already heading into mastery into that. So it's a really beautiful opportunity for kids to get really immersed into the things that they enjoy doing at such an earlier age. I think it's such an advantage. Okay. So I think that's sort of it. I feel like I've covered everything. Any questions, please let me know. Any questions you have. I'm just going to read through the chat now, see that I've covered all the things. Okay, so I mentioned I'm speaking from Victoria here. I've gone all the way back. Yes, I am saving the live, pending that Instagram will save it for me. Okay. I've only just pulled my son out via email and I'm yet to talk to the school. I don't know what to say. I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'm so overwhelmed with it all. I'm feeling you. Yes. So just, they don't need to know anything. And yet, you know what? The school is going to put a bit of pressure. Pulling a child out means that's less funding they'll be getting. That's the reality of it. I don't mean to be so obviously they do have the best interest, they want the kids in learning as well, but from a system perspective, that's also their thing that they're worried at as well. You're doing the best. You're the parent of the child. You have your child's best interest at heart. So we need to start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable with what other people are going to be saying and thinking. So you're doing what's best for you and your family, and that is the thing that you need to carry in your heart. Know your why. Anchor into that. I'm doing this for my child and for their best interest, and that's all you need to do, okay? So you've let them know. You just need to notify and send up to the Department of Education the form. Look at Home Education Network. I sent that. If you need that link again, let me know. So I hope this live has just helped you sort of unpack those fears a little bit more. Just take it one day at a time. As I mentioned before, if you need to just do something, get something like UCA, or there's other home education curriculums that you can follow, just to help you figure your way out. You feel like you're doing something, and then just play with your kid. Just play. What are their interests? Get to know one another again. Restore that relationship back. Okay. Oh, hello, these beautiful people. Thank you for listening to me talk. Great points. We're seeing that breakdown now. Yes. Yeah, beautiful, Tay. So true. Loving. I'm glad you're finding it useful. Already put my application in, waiting on my confirmation. Beautiful. So technically, things are so, I know families have just said, we're on stress leave, mental health, we're around, but we're not joining in on lessons. So, good to go. Letting them know we've home educated, we're just taking it chill until that, approval comes in. So they know what's happening, they know where you are and what's going on. But that's great. Confirmation, you're confirmed. It's coming in. All good. It's a learning plan. It scares me. Yeah. And like I said, it can feel overwhelming, but sometimes it's just a bit matter of language. It's communication. How do we write it that makes sense? It makes it clear. That's all. As I mentioned, Home Education Network, I've got all the sample plans on there. So that should give you some support to how to do this. How can you run through your day with learning? I sort of spoke about that before. Work what works for you all. Some people might say, let's just try and get things over and done within the morning. The quicker it's done, the quicker it's off, and you can do whatever you like. Other people might want a slow morning. Let's not wait till 11 or after lunch in the evening. It's a bit of a free-for-all. I shouldn't say free-for-all, but it depends what works for you. And your family, what you think they're going to enjoy, and and go from there. Are there teachers that we can link in with? Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be a heap more now. We put the word out who's someone local, and maybe get another. For me personally, I really enjoy small classes, depending on their age. 6, 8, sometimes 10, depending on what it is that you're doing and so forth. But kids that all get together, know one another in a nice little, age type range as well. I know I found, almost at 8 and under, especially when you've got kids, multiple age ranges coming through, that 8 and under sort of works really well. Once they start hitting that 8, and that's another leap. And there's a focus that really needs to be in that 8 to 12, 14, and then you sort of got more of your teenage. But I find if you're going to do a learning type thing, those sort of buckets work well. And see how you go. Where do you find those teachers that can help us? Yeah, well, reaching out. I know there are a couple who are there's those non-discriminatory pages that are going around advertising. There have been some teachers. Use discernment, just reach out and just see, do you like their vibe? Just because they're a teacher doesn't mean they're going to have the right learning style for your child. So have a think about that. Word of mouth. Tutors, there are currently tutors there already. Hopefully teachers are already starting to advertise as tutors and all that type of stuff. Word of mouth, just put it, sometimes even just setting the intention, this is what I'm looking for, let's see what comes up. UK and easy to use, yes. Is it easy to register? I'm determined. Yeah, absolutely. It's easy. As I mentioned before, rewatch the live. Home Education Network covers a lot, step-by-step, what it is that you need to do. Hello, beautiful people. I've already run through what we should have done. Live is saved. Well, yeah, will be saved. Save and post. Yes, absolutely. I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you. I'm glad you found it helpful. If you've got any questions, please let me know. What services do you offer for guiding parents through this in terms of coaching and supporting? Myself, as I sort of mentioned, I focus a lot on the mindset type thing. And, yes, that's sort of what I do. If you take a look at my profile, my website's trueself.com.au. I've got link in bio with all of that. But I do one-on-one and just help people unpack their fears and their worries, and again get moving you into knowing that, how do we transform all that to take aligned and intentional action moving forward with that positive mindset. That's what we're doing, and shift and pivot all the time. So absolutely I can do that. Pin these resources. Yeah, I've shared in stories, and also I'm pinning into the highlights, so if there's anything, just send me a message. Come back, watch the replay. Absolutely. Pleasure anytime. Just let me know if you've got any questions, and I'll do another one, or respond, and I'll pin it into the highlight post as well. Don't know what it takes to make it possible, but the teachers walking out if they're positive and do Zoom. Absolutely, Zoom. Like this, I'm just there's so much opportunity for a new way of being. Yes, the Zoom classes and offering that. Absolutely, there is. Thank you for coming along. I'm scared of... Oh, absolutely. And my question is, what in particular are you worried about failing them? If we're going to this mindset, knowing your why, what's your values, we want, whatever that is for you. I also speak about happy, successful, confident kids. What do we need to get there? Where are you worried about failing? That's okay. Well, let me dig a little bit deeper and go, okay, well, I don't think I know everything. Well, no. What do you know? What don't I know? Well, what don't I know? I need support in to help me. And so community really is so important, really is. So getting together, chatting with people, with like-minded people who are close to you, and meet up and doing that really will be important just to help go in from there. My daughter is always just like Kinder in school. Beautiful. Like, wow, she'll be so happy. Pleasure, Laura. Lack of social worries me. Social interaction, it's more than just what happens at school. There's extracurricular activities. I don't know what age your child is, but looking at that, and it may also involve you curating those experiences. They don't need to be seeing kids every single day of the week, but looking, go along to the park play meets when, they're open, and things like that. Start looking at, similar interests. They can be a really great equalizer. They just go along and they're learning gymnastics, for instance, or tennis or something else, whatever it is. But you may need to curate those opportunities a little bit more. But just, see how that goes. Can they speak to people? Are they, learning with cousins and other family friends, and just looking at how to develop really beautiful relationships from there. We do 2 hours in the morning and then free time. Absolutely. You sort of know that and then it's done, free time. As you know, you probably know through remote learning, the learning portion is probably very small. You knock that out very quickly. So yes, if anyone needs a hand, I've just filled up my daughter's learning plan. I'm a teacher, please vouch. Thank you so much. It's flame.tree.enchanted. It's her profile. So, wonderful. Thank you so much. And there's also examples on Home Education Network, and also my kids have always been below in maths and English. So my kids feel like they're dummies. Oh, darling, having to fit into the average, that's been negative for their education and self-esteem, 100%. So again, we look to the child. Doesn't matter that even within school, let's say they were grade 3, they had the buffer of going up to grade 1 to grade 5 as in knowledge, yeah? So how can you teach towards that? Every child is different. Work towards their gifts. Where are they confident in? You might go, oh my gosh, they're 11 and they sort of don't know how to, oh my gosh, like this fear, that's okay. Sometimes when they're older, it's easier to catch up and you can do it in a shorter amount of time. But just know where they are, and okay, all we need to do, great, we know where they are now. What's the next step? And slowly growing and growing. No one cares. When I was interviewing jobs, we don't care what age they read. Over time, can they communicate? What do we need? Where's the gap? How do we build that up so they can do it? So it's not a handbrake for them anymore. What support do they need to help getting their learning? Is it a reflex, a primitive reflex that's out that needs to get integrated back in, for instance? Now I can actually get a specialized tutor to help them. They get that one-on-one. And, over the course of a year or 2 years, that you will be amazed. So sometimes, underestimating, like meet them where they're at, but then seeing we've got, suddenly this, the time they have to grow at their own pace. And that confidence and self-esteem is amazing. Is amazing. Can you register to be a school? My friend is petrified of homeschooling, so she wants me to school her kids. Is this possible? Well, if you register a school, I think there's a Hurstbridge co-op, which I think once you hit a certain amount of numbers, you become a school. It might be 20 kids, but you're part of the system. But can she engage you to help with certain portions of the learning? Absolutely, she could. You could help write a curriculum, give her guidance, she can pay you, all that is for her. Absolutely. Many ways around it, have a think about what that looks like. Beautiful, just connect in, reach out to people. Pleasure, I'm glad that's been an assistant. Their exams or worksheets kids need to complete to move to the next level? No, absolutely not. It's all down to yourself, yes, as to what level they're at, like school grade 1 to grade 2, yeah. And so that's, a curriculum may help guide you, for instance, so you can sort of follow along with that. Me, like what I'm thinking now is like, I wouldn't actually mind wondering where they're at. So I know that there is a local teacher now near me that I'm just going to engage and go, hey, can you just check in with them? Where are they at? So then that'll help me know, okay, where are the areas that we need to help develop and move on from there. You might just decide to do that at each year, at the beginning, at the end of each year, where are they at? a check-in point, maybe just to see how you're going. Oh, how interesting. And just, for your own, knowledge and a surety, that could be the way to go for you. Okay, that looks like it. Oh my gosh, sorry, there's a few questions in this Q&A box. How do I construct my own plan for my child? That is Home Education Network. There's a learning plan there, examples for every single age and stage. Where do I start? What curriculum do I use? How do I teach specialist classes? Outsource. You can go to OutSchool. You can do like little, an art class. I want to learn water painting. Okay, OutSchool, water painting might be one-off class or 3 classes. Try there. Ring up your local artist. Science teacher, OutSchool, where's some science curriculum? There's all those KiwiCo. There's a heap I see. You can, once a month they'll deliver science boxes out to you for play and stuff like that. Where to bring process, paperwork. Your Department of Education will have the paperwork. If you're in Victoria, go to Home Education Network, which is all the w's.home-ed.vic.edu.au. And it's got all of it there. Would there be teachers up there who have quit there because of Amanda who could use their skills? Absolutely, absolutely. How do I manage work from home? I'm also, yes, manage work from home. I've sort of covered that then. Understand your needs. Boundaries and structures are probably also needed for, like, this is my client days. This is the day, like, I need space every day to recharge. Others aren't. People are going to be different. Morning is really important to me. The afternoon is when I'm, can do whatever. So really gain an understanding what your needs are, what your kids' needs are, and then just go, okay, how can we make this work? It's going to be different for every family, but I hope that helps, gives you some tips just to get started and how it's going to look like. It's going to anchor, this is going to come up to you. You're creating a new way of being. It's up to you. This is the stuff, the mindset stuff, yeah? How is this, and why am I feeling really nervous and I'm feeling edgy on this? They're the depths, they're the edges that we need to go through to transform, to propel us into that next level. Day, week, look, I've sort of mentioned about what it looks like in school. How can I find other homeschooling families near me? Home Education Network, their site will give you all the groups. That is why I'm still on Facebook for home education, really, because of that. So I often just use Facebook through the internet, and I will just use a newsfeed eradicator, so I don't, disable the newsfeed. So I just specifically go in and look at notifications and the groups and keep involved in there. A live info session would be great. Let me know if I've answered any questions. Where do we sign up for New South Wales Year 7? Department of Education under New South Wales there. A cut-off date to apply. You can apply whenever with your child, whenever you need to. Okay, I think that is it. I'm worried about teaching secondary subjects like complex maths and physics. You need to outsource. You're the facilitator. As I say, I'm the facilitator. Husband, what are you? You're teaching the kids, aren't you? I'm the facilitator. I will outsource to the appropriate qualified person who can best provide that information. Again, maybe go to OutSchool and download something on there. I'd hire a teacher. Can you come in and do something? So do that. See what they need. You don't have to do it all yourself. Just take a look and see and what works for your child, how they like to learn. Are they writing down, listening through, really active through play? See how you go and get curious, and then ask out to the community. Any suggestions so you can get feedback and support. Okay, Nikki, pleasure. Saving the Q&A, yes, absolutely. Schoolmate app can give you a guide of what each year level is. Yes, so that's still around, that app. Yes, that's a good one. If you just want to get a guide and see, they're sort of on track. This area they're really good at, this area not so much. Okay, well, what do we need to do to help perhaps get us up to speed from there? Grateful, pleasure. Thank you for listening to me speak. Interesting how DT hasn't really been concerned about our kids missing almost 2 years of school life. It's just showing me how much of a school time is wasting and overloading kids in with. Well, with all due respect, it's almost like for me, let's call it what it is. It's a childcare system. So parents can go out and work. That's the way society is set up. It'd almost be better if they said, we're a childcare system, come here. It'd almost, imagine that, knowing that in the morning, we're doing these education subjects, and then in the afternoon, they can choose from their specialist areas, maths, science or sports or art. Pick up your kids, they can just come, you need them here for 2 hours, awesome. A couple of days a week, whatever, you pick and choose, whatever it is that you need for you. That's how I almost feel. That would be amazing. Imagine that. You could part-time school, you could do whatever it is that you would, but they don't. That's innovation. What is that we need? But yeah, it is interesting. It's just showing the cracks, just exposing the things that just aren't working or what they really are for. Okay, pleasure for the absolutely. I'm all about the encouragement. You can do this. If I can do this, trust me, you can do this. I've just had the luxury of starting this 7 years ago, and I know it's not just a matter of making the decision. The decision, registering off a form, filling off a plan. That's the easiest part. These fears that are coming up, that's the hardest thing. It's the mindset. It's the, oh my gosh, what does this mean for me? How am I valued, my role in society? Like, what are people going to think? I knew no one who home educated, no one at all. Tell my parents I'm home educating. What? Why would you do that for? Their fears getting projected onto you. Friends and family and milestones that you think you're sort of going to miss out on, or just, that is the biggest thing that we are deprogramming from. So as I mentioned, I had the luxury of doing it these, 7 years ago, coming into all of this in amongst all the chaos that is going on. Like, you are being met, you are pushed to your edges. And so I so much love and respect and courage and just, holding you all in that space. I really want to acknowledge your courage and conviction into this, and just want you to trust yourself, back yourself. If you're feeling called into this space, there's a reason why. And you can do this, okay? It's going to look different. We've got so much fear and uncertainty because you don't know what it's going to look like. But, for me, that's exciting. And if I can do it, you can do it, absolutely. Almost school being childcare, so parents can work almost like a facility to destroy the family unit. Yes, welcome to my mind. And I don't mean that. It's interesting. And now we are actually being called, we're actually being called back together. And this is, some people, you'd find families are actually starting to thrive again. They love it, being around their kids. And if you're noticing, oh my gosh, being around my kids, I can't deal with this, that's your invitation for healing. That is your invitation to go deep, because being seen, heard, and witnessed, for us to go and give that to other people, we struggle with that because on one level, we're not feeling seen or heard, and we feel resentful and angry because of that. So how do we come back and heal that for ourselves? That's all that is. That's part of the process. Come see me if that's what it is that you need to do. The most middle England conservative midlife woman I know, and I'm seriously thinking about blowing up everything in my head. It is 100%. Absolutely. Like, I was such a mainstream. I did, just doing the corporate life, climbing the ladder, doing the thing, staying at home, leaving that to become a, kinesiologist and well-being, doing that and homeschooling my kids, the weird hippie, crunchy mama, doing that, freedom of choice advocate, your medical freedom, you get to choose, my body, my choice. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's all getting confronted right now. What we allow to happen to one person, we allow to happen to all. So really, if it's calling you, this is your invitation to be part of the new way of being, and you get to create that. So thank you so much for listening to, I hope I made sense. I'm just rambling a bit. So there's still a few questions that I know that are on my post on Instagram. If you're watching this on another platform, because I plan on saving this, it'll be live on Instagram, and I'll also post it onto YouTube as well. My Instagram profile is annagrillo.trueself. My website is trueself.com.au. Please reach out, and I'm happy to direct you where as best that I can. So I hope you found this useful. Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me, and feel free to share, and maybe we'll do this again, because I think it's going to be a hot topic. If you're in like-minded community, you're doing this because you don't want your child to receive this, then I invite you to check out also Freedom Keepers. Vic Freedom Keepers is one. We've got community groups you can connect in. There are a lot of people on the ground who are setting things up. So there's lots of support out there. Just what is in the highest, if I didn't have to worry about time, money, other people's expectations, if I did this because my why is I just want to raise healthy, happy, successful children, things, a life of peace, joy and ease, what could it look like? What do I need? Please bring that into me. And then see what comes up, because the universe, honestly, right now, if it's aligned to you, it comes like this. So you've got this. I'm rooting for you. you can do this. Okay, honoring every single one of you. Much love. Go enjoy before the weather, before the rain comes. Bye.